Vanguard launched a few actively managed bond funds in 2023. Why do you think active bond management was something that Vanguard decided, specifically in 2023, that this was the time for them to do?
Yeah, so to be a little bit more precise, we're actually in the throes of this actually happening. So I just this morning, I saw the final prospectus on the two actively managed bond ETFs that you're referring to. So Vanguard Core Bond ETF and Vanguard Core Plus Bond ETF. The final prospectus came out today, so we should probably timestamp this as December 6th in the afternoon. We're recording in the studio here. They're expected to be live any day now.
Okay.
So yeah, why is it sort of a bigger push for them? I think it's more of an industry-wide thing. We've heard some of their competitors have also said that. I think when you look at like just what's happened, we've been in the zero interest rate environment for 10 or 12 years. We're finally coming out of that over the last 2 or 3 years, right? So there's actually some interest rates attached to these things, right? So it makes a little bit more sense. There's also sort of an appetite for income. You know, dividend funds are very popular, and fixed income for a long time before we got into the zero interest rate environment sort of fulfilled some of that, right? It's sort of a fixed coupon that you can rely on for some income. So I think for both those reasons, plus equity has been very picked over with strategic beta and ESG and everything we've had over the years. There's, you know, if you're looking to innovate, I think fixed income is sort of the final frontier at this point.
I know you just sort of looked at these prospectuses, so maybe you can't even answer this question, but I'm still going to ask you. You know, with what you've seen in these prospectuses, you know, do we have any insights into who the managers are? Do they manage other funds? Do we have just? I know they're not even out yet, so we can't rate them. But like, what would be some just preliminary things that maybe struck you or you noticed?
Yeah, so I think in general, you know, it looks like good stuff. The managers are Vanguard managers that are on other funds, so we have a little bit of familiarity with them. I think the bigger thing here is just how does Vanguard manage fixed income? They've long had this. They've long gone in the direction, I guess I should say, of just giving you sort of broad access to the bond market or a segment of the bond market, you know, and then taking some sort of opportunistic active risk around the edges where they think they can add a little bit of value. They tend to be very low fee, so there's a very low hurdle, and because of that, they don't have to take on a ton of risk in order to outperform. So you get a little bit more of a conservative portfolio, but the potential for outperformance is still there because they're relying on that low fee as really the catalyst to actually drive the performance. And that seems to be very much embedded into both of these ETFs that they're coming out with. So Vanguard Core Bond ETF that I mentioned, the expense ratio on that is 10 basis points. The Core Plus Bond ETF is 20 basis points. Really the difference that you're looking at there, I think, is going to be the exposure to the high yield bond market. So Core Bond, I think in the prospectus said about 5% or less in high yield bonds. Core Plus, obviously by its name, is going to take on a little bit more. So a little bit higher risk reward with that one, depending on what you want. But just based on the name, like these sound like pretty broad core type bond holdings that, you know, you could easily complement, you know, a very diversified portfolio at the end of the day.
So then outside of these actively managed bond funds, did Vanguard launch any new mutual funds or ETFs in 2023 that you think are notable?
Yeah, so one that just came out recently was International Dividend Growth Fund.
Ooh.
So that's sort of the international cousin of Dividend Growth that we were just talking about before, right? Pierre Fisher is managing that fund, who's going to be taking over Dividend Growth from Donald Kilbride. So you see some continuity there. I haven't really looked into it. It just came out last month, but expect a very similar process just applied to international markets there.